So I have a document on my phone called Life Rules, and I've had it for a couple of years now. And what I do every time I come across a good quote or a good philosophy or a good kind of mental model, good way of thinking, I just write it down as a bullet point. And I must have hundreds here that I've accumulated over the years. And what I want to do in this video is share with you guys a handful of these life rules that I have that I just use to kind of remind myself and condition my mindset to stay sharp and just really spend some time talking about what each of these rules mean to me. One of the first ones I've got here is if you're not prepared to sacrifice for your goals become the sacrifice. And sacrifice is something that you need to come to terms with if you want to level up and get to the next level, because the extent to which you're prepared to sacrifice is reflective of the extent to which you're likely to succeed. I'm a big believer that although I don't really like to believe in compromise and always like to find a way to do everything, the reality is you can have anything you want, you just can't have everything that you want. You have to be prepared to sacrifice. Now, sacrifice can mean a whole different host of things. Sacrifice means just saying no to a lot of things and saying no to certain opportunity that could be distractions. You really need to be focused, and focus is just the absence of distraction. So the less distractions you have, the more focused you're going to be. Sometimes it means sacrificing time with friends, time with family. It means sacrificing sometimes joy and peace in your life. I'm at a stage in my life with the businesses, I don't have much peace. It's very chaotic because we're growing. I've got a lot of responsibility. Although in the grand scheme of things, we are a very, very small business. But when you've got 40 plus mouths to feed, this is new territory for me over the last couple of years. And so I've gone from having a lifestyle business where it's very lean. It's a couple of team members doing very well. I can have a bit more freedom and flexibility. There's less eyes on me. Now I'm in a position where I've got to be there to show up for people and be a leader and manage people and make sure that I'm setting the example and being a good role model to those around me. Put on my Instagram story recently a couple of questions I've been thinking about, and one of those questions was, what do I now need to sacrifice in order to get what I want? And it's an important question to ask yourself, because a lot of people know the answer. Sometimes you don't like to admit it, but it's the things that you don't want to sacrifice are often the things that you most need to sacrifice in order to move forward. My second one here is, if you don't have a plan for yourself, you'll become a part of somebody else's. This is quite a common one. I'm sure you've probably seen before, but when I speak to a lot of people that come up to me or they message me asking for advice, the first question I throw back to them is, what is the goal? What is it you're trying to achieve? Because once I understand that, it can help me better advise you. And I'm surprised by, whenever I ask that, how few people actually have clarity on what they want to achieve. When I say clarity, it's knowing exactly what you want and when you want to achieve it. And until you have that level of clarity, it's very hard to reverse engineer a plan to get there. And it's why a lot of people move through life as they drift through life. If you've ever read the book, it's a book I highly recommend called Outwitting the Devil. Napoleon Hill talks about you can either be someone that is a drifter and drifts through life, or someone that has definiteness of purpose. They have intention in everything that they do. Until you have clarity on your goals, what you want to achieve, when you want to achieve it, it's very hard to have any real intention or direction in your life. And it's when you often end up just drifting and becoming a part of somebody else's plan. So if there's a takeaway from this video, it's definitely get clarity on what you want and reverse engineer a plan to get there. I've also got here, they've got to separate how you feel from what you do, and you've got to be process driven. So separate how you feel from what you do means it doesn't matter how motivated you are. It doesn't matter whether you feel tired, you feel exhausted, you feel stressed, you feel happy, inspired. You've just got to stick to the process. If you've got a clear plan, and this is the difference between motivation and discipline. It's a very simple mental model, but I remember reading a book very early on in my career that talks about the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation is a temporary emotion. Discipline is what gets stuff done, and those that win are the ones that get the job done whether they feel like it or not, and they do the things even when they don't feel like it. So if you want to win, you've got to separate how you feel from what you do. I tell you what, I've got some great ones here. Maybe I should do more of these. One here is, I've said this before, is you don't get what you want, you get what you tolerate. And you can have all of the goals and all of the desires in your life, but if you tolerate not earning much money, if you tolerate being a little bit unhappy, if you tolerate an unfulfilling relationship, until you no longer tolerate and you raise that standard and you decide, this is it, you make a conscious decision, I command more, I deserve more, I want more, and I'm not going to accept anything less, then you're always going to fall to that baseline. And you might have spurts of inspiration, you might have spurts of motivation, but those emotions are fleeting and they disappear. And so to really progress, you have to constantly be raising your standards and stop tolerating the things that you've tolerated in the past. It's another question I've been asking myself recently is, what am I tolerating right now that I shouldn't be tolerating? Where do I need to raise my standards? And I think it's a very good question to ask yourself. Another way of saying it is, you don't achieve your goals, you achieve the absolute minimum standard that you're prepared to accept for yourself. And so you got to try and figure out what that standard is, because everyone's got a thermometer. For some people it's being in their overdraft. If you've been in your overdraft for a long period of time, it's because you tolerate being there, whether you want to hear that or not. If you're overweight and you've been overweight for a long period of time and you're unhappy, you might be unhappy, but you still tolerate it. So raise your standard for sure. Another important one here is that reputation is everything, because you have one name and you live with it forever. In business and in real estate especially, reputation is extremely important. It's an asset that once corrupted is very hard to fix. And so everything that you do, you've got to make sure you're putting your reputation first and you're putting it at the forefront of your mind. There's a lot of things you can do in business which might make you a quick bit of money, but it might put you at a lot of reputational risk. And so when you're assessing any business decision, any real estate investment, any real estate development, any important decision that you're trying to make, you got to be asking yourself, what is the reputational risk here? With your stakeholders, with your investors, with your partners, with the public. A great one here, and one of my favorites, is when you buy knowledge, you buy time, because learning is the only way to pay down the time tax of ignorance. For me, I've always had a sense of urgency with everything that I've wanted to do and achieve. And I always saw the shortcut is to just find the people that have already done what I've wanted to do, that already have the answers, and just pay to get the information from them, whether that's in the form of courses, whether that's in the form of mentorship, in masterminds, whatever it is. I'd rather not figure it out on my own, and I would rather just pay the money now, and so I can get the lessons now. One thing you have to know about wealthy people, from my experience anyway, is they value time way more than they value money. And so if there's a way they can save time and do things quicker and get things done quicker, they will happily pay a premium to do that. And I think that's a mindset you need to approach when it comes to learning, because I would just rather get the lessons now. The money will come back. The money's abundant. There's more money being printed than ever before. It's a renewable resource. Time isn't. And you can wait 5 or 10 years to try and learn something on your own, figure it out, make the mistakes, which are often more expensive than just paying for the knowledge up front anyway, or getting it done. And this is coming from someone that spent 6 figures on education. So, I'm happy to die on that hill, despite what some people might think about courses and masterminds and seminars, etc. My opinion is it's down to you to extract the value from them. And to build on that, some other ones here I've got is success leaves clues. There are patterns. When you get around successful people, you see the patterns, there are clues, things that you can follow. And another one is smart people learn from others, average people learn from their mistakes, and stupid people already have the answers. The smartest people I've been around are obsessed with learning from those ahead of them. So my observation of a common trait among successful people. I've got some simple ones here, but they're really kind of useful belief systems. One is that most millionaires are no smarter than you. And I believe that to be true. Don't pedestalize successful people thinking they're these kind of hyper intellectual, high IQ, gifted beings that can achieve things that might be out of the realm of possibility for you. It's absolutely not true. And a really powerful thing that happens is when you get in proximity with successful people, sometimes I'm sat across from the table with guys that are worth, 10 times, 100 times where I'm at. And I'm looking at them, I'm thinking, you're really not that smart. What they've just done is they've got really, really smart at one particular thing and played the game for a long period of time. But I don't look at them and think, they have a level of IQ that is far advanced than me. They don't have a way of thinking, or they're not gifted in a way that I can't compete with. And that's really empowering, because another belief system I talk about a lot is what one man can do, I can do. And we were able to look at someone that has had a level of success and think, not in an arrogant way, not with a level of cockiness, but from a place of self-belief, and think, you know what, if they can do it, there's no reason I can do it, because it all starts with self-belief. 2 I've got here as well is anything is possible when you refuse any other outcome. And a second point is there's always a way. I don't like to be told no. Often when I know there is always a solution, there's always a way. And when you think like that, you're forced to come up with alternative solutions. I was in Marbella recently with a couple of friends, and we went to the gym. We bumped into this friend at the gym. We decided to just go for dinner after the gym. And so we weren't dressed super smart. We did go home and get changed, but it was super casual. It was kind of late. I think my friend was wearing like some sweatpants. I was wearing a hat, etc. We went to this really well-known restaurant in Marbella, quite a high-end restaurant, and rocked up, asked for a table, and they told us, oh, sorry guys, you can't come in because of the dress code. Your sweatpants, your hat, etc. And maybe trainers as well. We were wearing trainers. They didn't like the trainers. And I remember both of us, like he was an entrepreneur as well, similar kind of mindset. We didn't kick up a fuss at all, like in the politest possible way. We just said, no, like really, we'd like to come in. I'd love for you to kind of make an exception for us. And they kind of said, and they were thinking about it, said, look, you know, we're going to come in, seat us at the back, whatever, we'll stay out of the way. We're not going to cause any trouble. You know, it's a Thursday evening, whatever it is. Would really appreciate it if you just to make an exception for us. And they said, you know what, go on then, come in. And it's probably not the best example, but a comment I made after that is there's a lot of people that when they just got told no first, they would have probably said, okay, no worries, we'll go home. But it's just, I've had this mindset conditioned into me now where it's like, there's always a way, there's always a solution. Never take no, the first no. And just by pushing back and say, come on, there must be a solution. There must be a way we can sort this out. And lo and behold, obviously they let us in, got a table. And there's so many examples of where that's happened in my life, like on a daily basis. I think if you just have the mindset that there is always a way, there's always a solution, especially when you refuse any other outcome. One of my favorite stories about this, if you type into YouTube, Tony Robbins, Sylvester Stallone story, and you hear Sylvester Stallone's story, he just refused any other outcome than becoming a successful actor. One of the most inspiring stories of overcoming rejection and adversity that I've ever heard. So highly recommend you check it out after this video. But when you refuse any other outcome, you'll be surprised how often you can get your own way. Another favorite of mine is you're allowed to be extreme. You can train 3 hours a day, run 100 miles a week, and write 10,000 pages. Never compromise your output to fit in. Pick one insane goal and embrace imbalance, because obsession bends reality in your favor. And that couldn't be closer to the truth. You have to be obsessed. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There are no half measures. You have to be all in and just prepared to do whatever it takes. And if you observe the most successful people, not only in business but in sports, the one thing that you noticed is they are all obsessed with their sport, obsessed with their business, obsessed with their goal. And so if you're not obsessed, I wouldn't even bother. The master has failed more times than the beginner has tried. That's very, very true. The person who loves walking has walked further than the person who loves the destination. It's not who you are when it's easy, it's who you are when it's hard. Difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations. Some of the best gifts in life come badly wrapped. Master your emotions before they master you. The mouse dies in the mousetrap because it does not understand why the cheese is easy to obtain. That's so true. The most fulfilling, rewarding things in life don't come easy. And so if you want the things that no one else has, you have to be prepared to do the things that no one else will do. And that's exactly why the mouse dies in the mousetrap, because it fails to realize why the cheese is easy to obtain. Don't do your best, do what is required. I'm going to finish on this one, which is you should adjust your reality to fit your goals. Don't adjust your goals to fit your reality. When I'm speaking to people about their goals and they're sharing their goals with me, very often the word realistic is used. And they think, oh, if I'm going to be realistic, I'd like to achieve this. It's like, well, what is realistic or what is unrealistic is totally up to you to decide, because what's a normal day for some people is a totally unrealistic goal for others in their own heads. But it all starts with what you believe to be realistic or unrealistic. For some people, it's unrealistic that they can make £100,000 in a month. For some people, that is a bad month. They wouldn't be able to live with themselves if they only brought in £100,000 in a single month. So don't be afraid to be ambitious. Get very clear on a goal that really, really excites you. The goal has to be compelling. It has to be exciting, and be unreasonable. You hang around with billionaires or hyper successful people, the things they want to achieve are unreasonable. Elon wants to send people to Mars on rockets so they can then fly back and land. Rockets that take off and land again. For a lot of people 20 years ago, that is an unreasonable goal. That is just beyond the realm of possibility. Now they're launching them and landing them like every other week. What Jeff Bezos wanted to build with Amazon, you've got to be unreasonable with your goals. And then you reverse engineer, like, well, how do I achieve those goals? And you come up with a plan. And that's when you adjust your reality and your actions to match those goals, rather than setting some goals that don't excite you, they're a little bit mediocre, they're not that ambitious, you're really not pushing yourself, and then you're just not going to do the work. So yeah, adjust your reality to fit your goals. Don't adjust your goals to fit your reality. Anyway, they're just a few life rules that I've written down over the years, things that I've heard, things that I've picked up from other people, other mentors of mine. Hopefully some of those resonated with you. As always, guys, I'm going to see you on the next video.